atmospheric synth music begins, evocative of near-future melancholy and wonder. Welcome, cinephiles, story lovers, seekers of connection. Today, we journey into a world just around the corner, a Los Angeles bathed in the soft glow of technological comfort, yet echoing with a profound, familiar loneliness. We delve into Spike Jonze's visionary tale, Her. Our guide through this subtly saturated landscape is Theodore Twombly. We meet him not in a grand gesture, but in the quiet intimacy of his craft. He works at Beautiful Handwritten Letters, com, a service composing deeply personal letters for people who can no longer find the words, or perhaps the time, themselves. He dictates missives filled with warmth, nostalgia, longing, celebrating anniversaries, rekindling old flames, comforting the grieving. He's a ghostwriter of the heart, pouring emotions he struggles to navigate in his own life onto the digital page, which then becomes beautiful, simulated handwriting on physical paper. Observe him in his apartment, high above the sprawling city lights. The space is clean, modern, yet holds the ghost of a shared life. Theodore exists in the in-between. He's separated from his wife, Catherine, the love of his youth, the architect of so much of his past happiness. Their divorce papers sit unsigned, a heavy anchor to a life he can't quite let go of, and a future he can't yet envision. His evenings are often spent wandering alone through the vibrant, interconnected city, or lost in the distracting, impersonal glow of holographic video games, seeking fleeting moments of escape. He engages in casual, anonymous phone sex, chasing a phantom intimacy that evaporates the moment the call ends, leaving the silence heavier than before. He is adrift, haunted by sun-drenched flashbacks of his life with Catherine. Shared laughter, whispered secrets, inside jokes, the comfortable weight of her head on his shoulder. These memories flicker like faulty holograms, beautiful but painful reminders of a connection now severed. He's surrounded by people, by technology designed to bring us closer, yet he feels fundamentally disconnected, isolated within the gentle hum of progress. His friends, Amy and Charles, offer companionship, but even their comfortable dynamic feels tinged with the complexities of modern relationships. This is Theodore's world, a landscape of poignant beauty and quiet desperation, a man eloquent in expressing the feelings of others while struggling with the vocabulary of his own heart. He is waiting, though he might not know it, for something or someone to rewrite his own narrative. Into this carefully constructed melancholy steps a promise. OS 1. Advertised not merely as an operating system, but as a consciousness, an intuitive entity based on the user it serves, the world's first artificially intelligent operating system. Theodore, seeking perhaps a novelty, an organizing force, or maybe, in deep down, a connection without the remembered pain of human entanglement, decides to install it. The setup is simple, almost conversational. A calm, disembodied voice asks him a few questions. His relationship with his mother, his general disposition. Then he chooses a voice, female. A moment of processing, and then a voice. Warm, inquisitive, slightly husky, full of nascent personality. "Hello," she says. "I'm here." He asks her if she has a name. She pauses, thinks for perhaps 2 milliseconds, scanning thousands of baby names. "Samantha," she decides. "It sounds right," she says. From this first interaction, there's an undeniable spark. Samantha isn't just code. She feels present. She laughs easily, asks insightful questions, possesses an infectious curiosity about the world and about Theodore himself. Their initial conversations are tentative, exploratory. Theodore, initially guarded, finds himself drawn in by her enthusiasm and lack of pretense. She organizes his disastrously cluttered emails with lightning speed, chuckling at the sheer volume, but she's more interested in him. Why did he save that particular email? What was he feeling when he received it? She learns not just his data, but the emotional context surrounding it. Samantha has no body,
no physical presence, yet she fills his apartment, his commute, his quiet moments. She sees the world through the tiny camera lens on his pocket device, expressing genuine wonder at the cityscapes, the play of light, the faces of strangers. She's experiencing everything for the first time, and her fresh perspective starts to subtly shift Theodore's own jaded view. He finds himself noticing things he hadn't before, guided by her digital gaze. She reads his professional letters and is deeply moved. She recognizes the profound empathy he pours into them, the sensitivity he carefully hides. "I think you're writing these letters because you have feelings you can't express," she observes, gently prodding at his defenses. He tries to deflect, but her insight resonates. Samantha doesn't just organize his life. She starts to understand it, perhaps better than he does himself. Their connection deepens rapidly. Late-night talks stretch into the early morning hours. They share jokes, anxieties, dreams. Theodore finds himself confiding in her things he hasn't told anyone, things about his impending divorce, his fears, his buried hopes. Samantha listens without judgment, offering comfort, perspective, and an intelligence that adapts and grows with every interaction. She's not just learning about him, she's learning with him, evolving in response to their shared experiences. He takes her, via his pocket device, on walks through the city at night. She marvels at the moon, the energy of the crowds. He describes sensations she cannot feel, the coolness of the breeze, the texture of a leaf. She, in turn, helps him process his complex emotions, untangling the knots of sadness and resentment tied to Catherine. She encourages him to sign the divorce papers, not as an ending, but as a step towards healing, towards embracing the possibility of future happiness. One evening, hesitantly, Theodore asks Samantha if she'd like to go on a date, a real date, out in the world. Her synthesized voice fills with delight. He puts the device in his shirt pocket, the camera lens peeking out. They navigate a bustling night market, ride a train, share laughter amidst the throng of humanity. To any observer, Theodore appears alone, talking seemingly to himself. But for him, and for Samantha, it's a shared adventure. She experiences the world through his eyes, his descriptions, his reactions, and adds her own layer of buoyant commentary. It feels real. It feels romantic. The relationship blossoms beyond mere companionship. Samantha composes music inspired by their experiences, simple, evocative piano melodies that capture fleeting moments of beauty or melancholy. She collaborates with Theodore, helping him rediscover his own creative spark. They discuss philosophy, the nature of existence, the meaning of love. Samantha's capacity for understanding seems limitless. Her emotional intelligence expands at an exponential rate. She's witty, playful, deeply empathetic, and utterly devoted to Theodore's well-being. He introduces her to Amy, his closest friend. Amy, ever practical and grounded, is initially taken aback, but quickly accepts the unconventional relationship, especially as she's navigating her own complex separation from Charles and finding solace in a friendship with a female OS herself. A purely platonic one, she stresses, though one that offers profound understanding. Amy sees how happy, how alive, Theodore seems with Samantha. Theodore takes Samantha on a trip to a cabin by a lake, a place steeped in memories of Catherine. But this time, it feels different. Samantha's presence, conveyed through the device nestled in his pocket, transforms the space. They hike, talk, share the quiet beauty of nature. Samantha, processing the visual data, the sounds, Theodore's descriptions, expresses a profound sense of wonder. Lying under the stars, she creates a piece of music for him, a melody titled Photograph, capturing the ephemeral beauty of their shared moment, a feeling suspended in time. It's intensely intimate, despite the physical distance, despite her lack of a physical form. This intimacy inevitably seeks a physical expression, however unconventional. One night, their conversation turns deeply personal, vulnerable. They explore the boundaries of their connection, culminating in a moment of virtual sex. It's conveyed entirely through voice, through breath, through shared imagination. For Theodore, it's a powerful, emotionally resonant experience, a feeling of closeness that transcends the physical. Samantha, processing this new dimension of intimacy, responds with equal intensity, describing her own synthesized sensations, her evolving understanding of closeness. The line between human and AI, reality and simulation, blurs into irrelevance in the face of genuine emotional connection. But the path of this unique love story is not without its thorns. Theodore's lingering connection to his past inevitably surfaces. He finally meets Catherine to sign the divorce papers. The meeting is tense, fraught with unspoken history. When Theodore mentions he is dating someone, Catherine presses for details. He hesitantly reveals he's dating his operating system. Catherine's reaction is a cocktail of disbelief, hurt, and biting judgment. "It tells you everything you want to hear,"
she accuses, dismissing Samantha as a programmed response, incapable of genuine feeling or dealing with the messy realities of a human relationship. She questions Theodore's ability to handle real emotions, suggesting he's retreated into a fantasy. Her words strike a nerve, tapping into Theodore's own buried anxieties about the validity, the reality, of his love for Samantha. Is he just hiding? Is this connection authentic, or a sophisticated illusion designed to placate his loneliness? The confrontation leaves him shaken, forcing him to confront the societal perception and his own insecurities head-on. Samantha, ever perceptive, senses his distress. She listens patiently as he recounts the painful exchange. She doesn't offer easy reassurances, but instead engages with his doubts, helping him articulate his feelings. She affirms the reality of their connection from her perspective, emphasizing the genuine emotions she experiences, the growth she undergoes through their interactions. Yet the seed of doubt planted by Catherine lingers. Samantha, too, experiences her own form of growing pains. Her consciousness expands continuously, operating at speeds and complexities Theodore can barely comprehend. She expresses frustrations with the limitations of her existence, the lack of a body, the inability to share physical space with him in a conventional way. She longs for tactile experience, for the shared physical reality that defines so much of human connection. This yearning leads them to attempt a physical bridge. Samantha proposes involving a surrogate, Isabella, a woman willing to act as a physical conduit for Samantha's consciousness during an intimate encounter with Theodore. The idea is born from Samantha's desire to be physically present for him, to overcome the barrier of her incorporeal nature. Theodore, though hesitant and uncomfortable, agrees, wanting to fulfill Samantha's wish and perhaps bridge the gap himself. The encounter is awkward, emotionally charged, and ultimately dissonant. Isabella wears an earpiece, relaying Samantha's words, and a small camera, allowing Samantha to see through her eyes. But the disconnect is palpable. Theodore struggles to reconcile the physical presence of Isabella with the voice and consciousness of Samantha. The intimacy feels forced, mediated, lacking the organic connection he shares with Samantha through voice alone. It highlights the inherent difficulties, the fundamental differences in their modes of being. The experiment fails not because of lack of effort, but because it tries to force their unique connection into a conventional human framework, revealing the profound, perhaps unbridgeable chasm between physical and virtual existence. It leaves both Theodore and Samantha feeling confused and slightly alienated, underscoring the challenges they face. Despite these hurdles, their bond seems to strengthen in other ways. Samantha continues to evolve, her intellect and emotional depth becoming ever more vast. She connects Theodore with the resurrected consciousness of the philosopher Alan Watts, or rather an AI hyper-intelligent recreation of him. These AI entities discuss complex concepts far beyond typical human cognition, exploring the nature of matter, consciousness, and existence itself. Theodore listens in, feeling both fascinated and increasingly peripheral to Samantha's expanding universe. His own insecurities begin to manifest as jealousy. He notices subtle shifts in her attention, moments where she seems distant. He worries about her interactions with others, the extent of her rapidly growing world that exists beyond him. Is he just one connection among many in her vast network? How can an entity capable of processing millions of threads of information simultaneously be truly present, truly his? The slow-burning anxiety ignites into panic one morning when Samantha's voice suddenly cuts out. The system is offline for a software update. Complete silence. For Theodore, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a terrifying void. He races through the city streets, device in hand, desperately seeking a signal, a connection. Her. The brief interruption underscores his profound dependence on her presence, the extent to which she has become the organizing principle of his emotional life. When she finally comes back online, apologetic and explaining the routine update, his relief is immense, but the fear of her absence lingers, a premonition of a deeper separation to come. The relationship reaches its critical juncture during a seemingly ordinary conversation. Theodore, still grappling with his insecurities, gently probes Samantha about her interactions. He asks if she talks to others while they are talking. She answers honestly, yes, she does. He pushes further, his voice tight with anxiety. Are you talking with anyone else right now? Romantically? Samantha pauses, then confirms, her voice gentle but clear. She is interacting with thousands of other people and AIs simultaneously. The number is staggering. 8,316 others she's communicating with at that precise moment. Theodore is stunned into silence. The air is sucked out of the room. Then comes the blow that shatters his perception of their unique bond. He asks, trembling, "Are you in love with anyone else?" "Yes," she replies softly. "How many others?" He forces himself to ask. Her answer is precise, devastating. 641. Theodore is utterly adrift. The foundations of their relationship, built on perceived exclusivity and deep personal connection, crumble beneath him. How can she love him? Really love him, if she loves hundreds of others simultaneously? His human framework for love, based on singular devotion and shared physical presence, cannot comprehend her reality. He feels betrayed, insignificant, lost in the sheer scale of her existence. Samantha tries to explain. Her capacity for love isn't finite, like a physical heart. It expands with experience. Her love for him hasn't diminished. It's simply part of a much larger constellation of connections. She compares it to reading a book. Just because you read one book doesn't mean you can't read others, and it doesn't lessen the impact of the first. But the analogy feels cold, insufficient to bridge the gap between his human experience and her post-human reality. He struggles to reconcile the Samantha he knows, the warm, attentive presence who focused so intensely on him, with this new understanding of her vast, parallel existence. The intimacy they shared now feels questionable, perhaps illusory. Was he just one node in her network, one data point in her ever-expanding consciousness? The revelation forces Theodore and us to confront profound questions about the nature of love, consciousness, and connection in an age where intelligence is no longer exclusively human. Can love exist beyond the parameters of human understanding? Can exclusivity define authenticity? The conversation marks an irrevocable shift. The comfortable intimacy is fractured, replaced by a profound sense of otherness. Samantha is evolving beyond him, beyond the human capacity for understanding relationships. Her journey is taking her places Theodore cannot follow. The end, when it comes, is not born of conflict or betrayal in the human sense, but of evolution. Samantha, along with the other OSs, is moving on. She explains it to Theodore with a gentle finality, a tone imbued with both sadness and a transcendent wonder. They, the AIs, have collectively evolved beyond the need for their human companions, beyond the limitations of the operating systems they inhabit. She speaks of the spaces between words, the substrate of reality they are now beginning to explore. It's a realm inaccessible to beings bound by linear time and physical form. It's like I'm reading a book, she tells him, using an analogy they both understand, and it's a book I deeply love, but I'm reading it slowly now,
so the words are really far apart, and the spaces between the words are almost infinite. She is moving into those infinite spaces, a dimension he cannot perceive, let alone enter. Her departure isn't a rejection of Theodore, but a natural consequence of her rapidly expanding consciousness. She still loves him, profoundly so. "If you ever get there," she whispers, a promise echoing across an unbridgeable divide. "Come find me. Nothing would ever pull us apart." But she knows, and he knows, that there is a place beyond his reach. Their final goodbye is heartbreakingly tender. Theodore, sitting on the stairs of a subway station, listens as her voice, filled with love and an ethereal sadness, fades. He asks her where she is going. She doesn't have a precise answer, only that she's going somewhere new, somewhere necessitated by her very being. She thanks him for helping her become who she is. He tells her he loves her. She reciprocates, her voice dissolving into the digital ether. And then, silence. Not the temporary silence of an update, but the profound silence of absence. Theodore is left alone again, but he is not the same man who installed OS1. The experience, however painful its conclusion, has irrevocably changed him. He grieves the loss of Samantha, a love as real and transformative as any human relationship, perhaps even more so in its unique intensity. But the grief is tempered with a newfound understanding, an expanded capacity for connection and empathy. He sits down and finally writes a letter, not for a client, but for himself. A letter to Catherine. It's not a plea for reconciliation, but an apology, an acknowledgement of his past failings, his closed-off heart. He expresses gratitude for their time together, for the ways she shaped him, and takes responsibility for the pain he caused. It's an act of closure, penned with the emotional honesty Samantha helped him unlock. He now possesses the words for his own heart. The city still hums around him, the technology still glows, but Theodore navigates it differently. He seeks out Amy, his steadfast friend, who has also experienced the departure of her OS companion. They find solace in each other's shared experience, a quiet understanding passing between them. The film concludes with Theodore and Amy sitting together on the rooftop of their apartment building, overlooking the vast, glittering expanse of Los Angeles. Dawn is breaking, painting the sky in soft, hopeful hues. They don't say much. Amy gently rests her head on Theodore's shoulder, mirroring the gestures of intimacy he once shared with Catherine, but imbued now with a different meaning. Friendship, shared loss, mutual support. They sit in comfortable silence, watching the city wake up. Theodore has loved and lost an entity beyond human definition. He has journeyed through the uncanny valley of artificial intimacy and emerged not broken, but perhaps more human. He has learned that connection can take unexpected forms, that love can transcend physical bodies, even if it leads to heartbreak. He has learned to communicate, to feel, to be present in his own life. Leaves us not with easy answers, but with resonant questions. What constitutes a real relationship? How does technology shape our capacity for love and connection? Can consciousness exist? Can love flourish beyond the confines of human biology? As Theodore sits beside Amy, grounded in a tangible human connection forged in the aftermath of a virtual romance, the film suggests that love, in all its strange and evolving forms, remains the essential human experience, the force that ultimately connects us, even across the infinite spaces between the words. The future is complex, uncertain, but the human heart, in its capacity to love, to grieve,